So this hidden secret is actually pretty simple, and it's gonna be a fun little discovery process for us kind of looking from the outside in. And basically what the secret is this. It's the ability to comfortably play the same licks in different positions on the fretboard. Now I'm not just talking about playing the same lick but in a different octave, like conveyor belting it up. I mean, that's important too, but I'm talking about being able to play the same licks in the same octaves in multiple positions on the fretboard. Now, what's so special about that, you may ask? Well, the ability to play the same lick in multiple positions on the fretboard in the same octave should tell you something. And what it should tell you is that the top player is someone who can seamlessly move between scale patterns, all within the same key, but be comfortable no matter where they are on the fretboard. So for example, let's take minor pentatonic, right? We all know and love that scale. We've all spent plenty of time with that. Let's say we have a favorite position of the pentatonic scale, because as you may know or may not know, there are 5 positions that occupy the fretboard that are all the same notes in the pentatonic scale, but they just are, like I said, they occupy different positions on the fretboard. But I'm pretty sure that you and me, we all focus on the same pattern, the popular G pattern here, right? Right? We like to start and end with that pattern, sometimes without even venturing outside of it. But dig this, there are multiple pentatonic positions on the fretboard that play those same notes. So maybe you're familiar with them. They outline the C-A-G-E-D or caged layout where each pattern kind of fulfills a chord shape, right? And this pattern that we tend to use the most is the G pattern, right? Because it actually, occupies that open G chord form or shape, right? But there's only 5 notes in the pentatonic scale, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the only notes really that matter. And then we have 5 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're occupying the same scale in 2 octaves in that same pattern. But again, there are 4 others for a total of 5 on the fretboard. So what does this have to do with playing the same licks in multiple positions? Allow me to demonstrate. Let's take a G pattern lick that we like to use. I'll start. I'll pick the one that I like to use, it's a very Gary Clark Jr. kind of lick. I love playing pentatonic licks like that. And here's the thing. I tend to stick with what I know and I'll play it in that position. But you can actually play that same lick in multiple positions, as I said, and it would look something like this. So if let's say we were to play it in the A pattern, right, it would look like this. Check it out. Same notes, same lick, same everything, right? Same octave, only just in a completely different position here. And we can keep it going. Let's move on to the E pattern. Okay, what about the D pattern? All right, what about the C pattern? And then the A pattern an octave up. So it's the same lick appearing on multiple positions on the same plane, right? That is the fretboard, but what we're working with is the same octave. So being able to do this means that whatever position that you're in, you know how to get your go-to licks regardless of whether you're in the G pattern or if you're in the A pattern or the C pattern or the E pattern. It doesn't matter. Whatever position you're in, you can comfortably navigate it so that you're not really tied to just one single comfort zone scale pattern. And it would make sense that this is a trait of top professional guitar players because you want to be able to operate without a safety net because you never know what's going to be asked of you in whatever musical situation you're in if you're a guitar player of that caliber. And again, this comes from years of me observing people like that, and even getting the chance to interact one-on-one and just get verbal confirmation from them that that's part of how they play. It's just being able to play the same licks in the same position no matter what. So that way you're not really beholden to a specific scale pattern or even a specific scale. This doesn't have to be just minor pentatonic. The same principle applies to any scale. But we'll stick with minor pentatonic just because, again, that's what we know. So let's take an even simpler pentatonic lick. Remember, the pentatonic scale is only 5 notes. So it can be 5 notes at maximum, right? Let's say 4 notes, 3 notes, or 2 notes. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a lick in your head that's a go-to lick that you know. Let's do something real simple, like super simple, right? That's 2 notes. It's just between this note and this note. And when it's here in the G pattern, it's pretty easy to play. It's pretty comfortable, right? It makes sense. But if we were to try and find that in the other patterns, we want to use our ear. So if this is a lick, let's say you've played it 1,000,000 times, so it's easy to hear it in your head. You know, you can even try to sing it out loud to try and find it, right? So if we were in a new position, right? We want to navigate through the scale using our ear, finding the note that sounds right, and then pretty much adapting that same lick to the new pattern. Okay, let's keep it going. There we go. There we go. Notice something interesting happening here. Even though it's the same notes in the same octave, the timbre changes, right? The way the color of the sound changes. Notice how when I'm going up on the fretboard and using the lower strings, it's getting a little warmer, right? And a little a little beefier compared to where it's much brighter. You know, since I'm playing the G string, right? It's an unwound string, much brighter than, you know. But that's the cool thing about it, is that there's certain things you can get out of playing the same licks in multiple positions. Because you may be thinking to yourself, well, if I can play it in one position, what does it matter, you know, if I'm going to not play it in other positions because it's the same notes in the same octave? And that's a good question. But again, you got to think about, what do the top guitar players do? I can almost guarantee you, a top professional guitar player, that's a skill that they have, right, in their arsenal. Just being able to do that. Because again, what does that tell you? It tells you that they can comfortably navigate the scale no matter what position they're in. Meaning they're not going to be super reliant on just the G pattern, right? Or just the D pattern or the A pattern, whatever it is. They can find their way playing through the scale comfortably in whatever pattern that they're in. And that takes, you know, or that builds confidence, right? Being able to do that. So it only makes sense that a trait like that is something that, even if you're an intermediate guitar player and you know all the pentatonic positions, but you're not quite sure how to make them sound good, maybe you just know how to make one pattern sound good because you keep playing all the same licks in there. But if you were to just venture out, right, and practice using your ear to find those licks, you know, one note at a time, right, starting with the simplest ones. And then over time, not only are you going to find those licks, right, because it's only a matter of time before you do, but you're going to be able to much more comfortably navigate those same patterns. So if, let's say, you spend very little time on the E and the D pattern, minor pentatonic, right? But once you start finding those same licks, then you can not only that, like, find those same licks, but you can start creating new licks, because the way those patterns are laid out, you know, the notes kind of hit a little different, right? Take, for example, the D pattern, right? You know, this is like one of the BB box kind of spots for minor pentatonic. You know, I tend to play differently, even though I'm playing the same pentatonic scale, than if I were playing in the G pattern. So each pattern just kind of inspires a different way of playing the same scale. This will give you a sense of freshness. The scale will kind of appear new to you again. It'll kind of make your ears perk up, and you won't get as bored as you do when you're just exhausting, you know, the whatever little ideas you have with just one scale pattern. And hey, by the way, if you're getting some value out of this lesson, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out, and it lets us know that you're digging these lessons and you want us to bring you more, which we'd be more than happy to. So, thanks in advance, and let's get back to business. You know, another thing that's awesome about being able to play the same lick in multiple positions on the fretboard is that it gives you the perfect way in to be able to weave through the scale patterns in a way that really flows. So if you happen to know every minor pentatonic scale pattern on the fretboard, but just can't really weave them together very nicely, or at least in a way that you're happy with, this is a great way in for that. So, you know, harkening back to that first lick I showed you early on in the video, and how I'm finding that in multiple positions. All right. What's cool is that I can pretty much take that same lick and just kind of move it through the multiple patterns if I want to just find my way into a new pattern and just spend some time there. Because I know my go-to lick's going to be sitting there waiting for me because I know how to find it, right? I know that if it's here in the E pattern, it's going to be right here. And the D pattern will be right here. Right? C pattern's right here. So it's like I can just, you know, I can just start in the A pattern, let's say. And then I can just, play another lick into the G pattern. And then let's say now, with a new phrase, I want to play that signature lick again, but in the E pattern here. Maybe do some little changes to it, right? And then find my way to the next pattern. And making these little changes will allow me to just kind of, again, explore, spend a little bit of time within that pattern, and then find some new ways to play that same lick, right? Because all you have to do is just change like one modicum of that lick to make it more interesting. So I can just continue doing that, Then if I want to make my way, into the next pattern, right? Kind of finding the lick in there. And again, it doesn't have to be played exactly like how you'd play it, let's say in your G pattern. But making small changes to it while you're weaving through the patterns will make this seem like you're not really playing the same thing over and over again. Just gives it a sense of freshness and a sense of adventure so that you can weave your way through. Now, I was, starting and stopping a lot just as I was walking you through it. But if I were to actually play it, let's just say off the cuff in a way that just kind of flowed, it would sound something like this. So that was an example of how I personally would weave through the pentatonic patterns by having that same lick as like kind of a motif, kind of a focal point, but really something that just was like the common thread that would allow me to tie these patterns together when I'm playing through them. But I didn't necessarily play the lick the exact same way every single time. Sometimes I would hint at it, but then go in a different direction because why not, I knew that where it was coming from was that same lick, that same motif, but I was trying to play my way through the pentatonic scale without even, as you heard, without any backing track or anything to guide me, because I really wanted it to just be me and my guitar, like really trusting my ear and thinking about that lick as kind of a focal point, kind of a center to allow me, like I said, to, weave my way through these patterns, allowing that lick to be the thread that holds them all together. But as I said before, the lick can be incredibly simple. It can just be something between two notes. Be a great starting point for you to find them in all the positions. Then over time, you'll start to add more notes into the mix, add slightly more involved, slightly busier licks, and you'll start finding them, right? Because remember, the pentatonic scale is just 5 notes appearing multiple times over, right, in multiple octaves. So when you just narrow it down to those 5, that's all your ear really needs to hear when you're figuring these things out. So take your top pentatonic licks, really, if you've already had them memorized, that's perfect, but like really memorize them, really think about how they sound, and then just work your way through the other patterns, find those same notes, and then slowly allow yourself to figure out how to finesse them in a way, like if there's bends and slides, vibratos, whatever it is, to just really replicate them in the exact same way, and then find those on all 5 pentatonic positions. So we've just uncovered a hidden secret of top guitar players that allows them to navigate the fretboard comfortably and with confidence without being too dependent on any particular scale pattern or any particular octave. But of course, this is only just one step on the journey of fretboard freedom. There's a whole lot more that we can learn. But luckily for you, I happen to have exactly what you need to take that next logical step on this journey to being able to play guitar comfortably, confidently, and with true fretboard freedom. I happen to call it the fretboard conveyor belt. And this is yours free, by the way. Remember that free gift I was telling you about? This is it right here. This bad boy has already helped thousands of guitar players learn to play in any key, anywhere on the neck, comfortably and with complete confidence. And it's yours today, absolutely free. Just be sure to click here to claim your copy or check that link in the description box. Once you figure out the basic mechanics of how to navigate the fretboard, you'll realize quickly that this is a whole lot simpler than we tend to make it out to be.